Hey guys, what's happening? We're back. We're talking about more MLS fantasy soccer because that's the only thing that matters right now, right? Yeah. It is week number, well, not week, but round number 5, and it's a big one. There's no double game weeks. There's no buys, so every team's playing, and it all happens between Friday and Sunday. So exciting stuff, good stuff. But if your team is anything like mine, it is covered with red exclamation marks again. This is just who I have, but I have Diaz and Morales, which I think a lot of people probably have because of the double game weeks last week. It's scary, but don't panic. Don't use your wild card yet. Save it. It's not a good time to use your wild card. Even if you have to take a -4, maybe even a -8, just to set yourself up for next week. That's not the worst thing in the world. You might take a hit this week, but in the long run, I think you'll be happy if you wait and save your wild card. Diaz has an undisclosed injury. I'm sure he made a lot of people mad last week who captained him, and he's like, oh my gosh, he didn't even play the second game. What the heck? Wasn't even on the bench. And that did stink. He wasn't my captain, but he ended up getting the same as Castillo. Doesn't matter. He has an undisclosed injury. What in the world does that mean? Well, we don't really know, but there's this wonderful thread going on over at Reddit Fantasy MLS page. That's Reddit/Fantasy MLS. It's a wonderful source of information, and somebody started a thread that basically they wrote down all the names of all the guys that are listed as injured this week. And under that, people are able to comment on what they've heard or if they think somebody's going to play, insider information, stuff like that. So for Diaz, according to Pareja, his injury isn't too serious. Decided to rest him last week because they were deep at the position and they won, so it didn't really matter. But that is a pretty legit source, so it does seem like Diaz might be okay. He's also playing twice next week. Not this week, but yeah, next week. So I'm hanging on to him. It might bite me in the butt. I really don't know, but with as many red marks as I have, I think I have to hold on to him. It's a lot of money to be sitting on your bench if he doesn't end up playing, but yeah, I think he's worth it. And the part that would get me is if he does play and he does well, I would be very upset with myself for getting rid of him. So Morales, on the other hand, from Vancouver, not in such good shape. At first it was like 1 to 4 weeks, but the more I read, the more it seems like it's more of a serious left hip strain. Sorry. So he might be out for a while, which is not good news for Vancouver. The other 2 guys I have are both from Orlando. I have Redding, who it seems like he had a mild concussion, so hopefully he's okay, ready to go this week, because Aurelian Collins is old. Come on, man. And then Laren, I think, concerned a lot of people, came out the game early last week, and I'm guessing he probably won't be playing this week, but he will be playing next week. Again, there's information on the Reddit page. I'm just guessing, but the nice part with Orlando is that we get to see their lineup before we have to finalize our lineup. So I'm going to be doing that at 6:30. I'm going to be feverishly going through my phone to make my transfers, depending on that lineup. So now that we've got that out of the way, there's also guys like Goodson. He's probably out. Beasler is probably still out. It's a bummer, man. There's injuries everywhere. Speaking of injuries, New York Red Bulls, man, they just cannot keep defenders on the field. I don't know what's going on with them. It's like they're being sabotaged or something. I don't know. So moving on from the injuries, we'll just kind of go over some topics of discussion, I guess. Kaká is back. He played well. He had 2 assists, and they destroyed Portland. So Do you jump on the bandwagon? Well, if you have a guy like Diaz or Morales and you want to get rid of him, I think you could do worse than Kaká. I mean, Orlando is in first place, and most of that was without Kaká. Their team is playing well this year. That's all there is to it, and Kaká is only going to help it better. So, is it a bandwagon? Not really. It's only one game. It's taking a risk. Um, I don't think it's a bad one. Now, it's unfortunate they don't have like double game weeks or anything like that coming up soon, but Kaká is awesome. I think he made the dream team this week, only playing one game. Failhaber. I don't like him. I'm not a fan of Failhaber, especially this year. Last year, he had a huge role. He was doing it all. He was taking the free kicks. He was taking the PKs. He was involved in all the attack. This year, not quite as much as last year. He still took the PK, but if he wouldn't have taken that PK last week, his points wouldn't have been very good at all. Um, and Zusi, Brad Davis, all those guys around him, I mean, it just kind of spreads the points out instead of having one guy that's getting all of them. Sporting Kansas just has a lot of guys that are going to be hard to track. So I am not jumping on him. He's too expensive, in my opinion. I know he plays twice coming up, and he will probably do great, and I will probably have to bite my tongue, but he's not going to be on my team. I would rather have Brad Davis or Zusi. So that's just my opinion. If you like Phil Hubbard, I know he did well last year. Can't complain or can't argue that. So those are two little topics. As far as matchups go this week, I think some of the better matchups, at least the one I'm seeing, is the New York Red Bulls versus Sporting Kansas City. Now, New York is at home, but their their defense is in shambles. They've lost now three of their starting center backs. It was their first two. Then Lawrence moved over. Now he's hurt. He's doubtful, I believe. And Sporting Kansas has the guys up front to get it done. It's not looking good for New York right now. They're having a rough start to the season. Other matchups, I think Montreal at home against Columbus. Columbus has been struggling a lot. I think Montreal has a chance to do some good stuff. Drogba's probably going to play. I don't think many people are going to risk picking him up, but I think he'll do well. And we got LA versus Portland. That's going to be an interesting one. LA has been struggling. Robbie Keane is out. I think he's getting knee surgery, so he'll be 4 to 6 weeks. He's getting older, so I would guess it would be more of the 6 weeks. But Dos Santos, I think, is supposed to be back this week. Will that matter? I don't know. I haven't seen anything that amazing from him this year yet. Seattle's struggling a lot, so they're playing at Houston. Houston is doing okay. They're middle of the pack right now, but they always do better at home. So I think Houston's a pretty good option as well. And last matchup I kind of like is DC United versus Vancouver. DC United is at home, and Vancouver is probably going to be without Pedro Morales, who really has a way of controlling the game. So I think Vancouver might struggle a little bit. Teixeira does a good job. He's a really good player, but Pedro has a way about him that just kind of settles the field down and controls it. So those are my good matchups. Obviously, we have to do captain talk. Now, I've been fortunate so far. I've picked good captains, but weeks like this, where there's no double game weeks, it is much more critical to pick the right captain because, I mean, it's easy when you have a double game week, you just pick somebody that plays twice. That's no problem. But right now, oh man, it's tough. Villa and Giovinco have both been quiet. They've been playing great, doing amazing stuff. They just haven't been scoring. So I would expect one, maybe both of them to have a goal this week. I'm calling it. One of them is going to score. I really hope so. I have them both. Another guy, Dwyer maybe, or any of the attackers really from from Sporting Kansas, just because New York is in so much trouble. Um, I think Zusi is a good option. I think Brad Davis and Dwyer are all good options for your captain if you have them. João Plata has been doing fantastically so far this year. I think he might be the guy I pick up if I have to get rid of Laren. I might do it anyway. They're playing Colorado. Now, Colorado has actually been doing halfway decent this year. And maybe RSL will actually keep 11 men on the field the whole game and just wipe the floor with Colorado. I don't know. But João Plata, I'm loving that little guy. He's just amazing. And just for a random flyer, let's go with a bounce back week for Addy from Portland. They are playing away at LA. It'll be an interesting match, but I mean, he missed that PK, and that always sucks. And he's definitely got the potential to get goals, so I'm going to go with him. And that is your fantasy advice for this week. I hope it helped you. Just caution, this video was made Wednesday night. A lot can change from Wednesday to Friday, so hopefully I didn't steer anybody wrong. Again, check the Reddit page, check MLS Fantasy Boss, and get on the chat there, because all that information is so good and so helpful. So if you need more information, go there. I'm telling you, it'll help. That's where I get most of my information for these videos, to be honest with you. So, yes, have a good week. Have a good MLS Fantasy week. Make good choices. Don't get upset. It's just a game. It's all for fun. Thanks again for watching. Appreciate all the views. It's pretty cool to have something like this to do. So good luck and goodbye.